A few years back, Egyptologists revealed they found a mysterious black goo, with them saying that it was used to cover mummies. Several artifacts and mummies were covered in this mysterious black goo, and after tests were conducted, the team said they were able to trace it to the 19th and 22nd dynasty. It's reported that one of the mummies that was found to be covered in this substance was a priest to the sun god Amun, and said that he passed away almost 3,000 years ago. After this, he was placed into a large wooden coffin and had the black goo poured over him. Archaeologists had noticed that this substance was used on various mummies and also artifacts that were found inside these ancient burial sites, and so they decided to conduct a variety of tests to find out more about it. The British Museum was able to find out more about this substance and what its exact purpose was. It's reported that researchers in the area were able to collect over 100 samples of this black goo, saying that some of these samples were vaporized in a process called gas chromatography. After this, they were placed through a tube which helped separate the molecules. Dr. Kate Fulcher, research assistant in the museum's Department of Scientific Research, said the following about the experiment. "We discovered that the goo is made of a combination of plant oil, animal fat, tree resin, beeswax and bitumen, which is solid crude oil. The exact ingredients vary from one coffin to the next, but the goo was always made from some of these." End quote. Interestingly, she also said that there were other ingredients inside the black goo that they were unable to detect, saying that they likely degraded to the point that they could no longer be picked up on. Archaeologists said that this goo had been found in wooden figurines, large boxes to help bond them, and also coffins. Even King Tutankhamun's tomb contained figurines that were covered in the black goo, but researchers said that as of right now these had not been analyzed. One of the reasons this substance was created the way it was is because the ancient Egyptians thought that the color black symbolizes rebirth. Dr. Kate Fulcher continued with the following. Osiris was called the Black One in various texts, and is often depicted with black skin and in the guise of a mummified body. Black is also the color associated with the silt deposited on the banks of the River Nile after the annual flood receded. It could therefore be reasoned that the practice of coating coffins in black goo links the coffin to regeneration associated with Osiris. The archaeologists also noticed that the black goo helped to bond the coffins together, and one idea was that this was to stop robbers from being able to steal them. The researchers found that this substance wasn't plentiful, and that only the elite of ancient Egypt would have had access to it. Large amounts of it was found inside various tombs throughout Egypt, with scientists saying some of it went missing, and some was cleaned off when the artifacts were first found. The black goo has been found in coffins from the Third Intermediate Period, but Dr. Fulcher said that further excavations could reveal that this goo was used during different periods. A recent discovery made in Sudan also showed that this black goo was present, and this was because it was under Egyptian control. Not only does this show us that there were elite members living in this region, but it's also direct evidence that the ancient Egyptians had established a trade route with them. Archaeologists have known for some time now that the ancient Egyptians were advanced in many areas, and one discovery that proved this was that of the Great Sphinx of Giza. When the ancient Greek civilization first journeyed to Egypt and laid witness to its incredible methods of construction, megalithic structures, advanced cities and technologies, and incredible strides in mathematics and philosophy. Not only were they completely intrigued by this, but they quickly worked to try to classify what they saw and provide it with the names we know today. When the ancient Greeks came across the large stone structure that depicted a lion with the face of a man, reminding the Greeks of the stories of the Sphinx recorded in the struggle of Oedipus, they quickly named the structure the Sphinx as an ode to their own culture seen in the Egyptian culture. However, outside of this original encounter, nothing else was known about the strange structure. In fact, new evidence and research today has found that it could very well be possible that the Sphinx structure itself is far older than supposed Egyptian writings and documents proclaim it to be. One of the main reasons for why the Sphinx has been dated its current age of being only 4,500 years old is not due to carbon dating or other reliable efforts made to accurately measure its date, but rather because of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics and documents that detail that the Sphinx was supposedly created during the reign of Egypt's 4th dynasty. Unfortunately, it was recently discovered that these documents could very well not be legitimate, and that the pharaoh of the 4th dynasty forged them for the sole purpose of taking credit of another past pharaoh's works, a common practice amongst pharaohs to rewrite history and take the honor of a past pharaoh's lifelong efforts. This was discovered not by taking a closer inspection at the Sphinx, but rather discoveries made in the tombs of long-deceased kings of Egypt. Originally a theory put forward by the groundbreaking author Robert Temple, there appeared to be overwhelming evidence that the Sphinx we know today was actually an attempt made by a pharaoh of the 4th dynasty to do nothing more than to claim the works of those before him. Evidence for this can be found when analyzing the head-to-body ratio. In fact, the head on the Sphinx is so small that many had often believed upon first sight that it could have been grinded down from a much more massive structure. The second piece of evidence is provided by the hieroglyphics located at the Temple of Tep-tu-Fu, that outline in great detail that the original god of ancient Giza was Anubis, and the accounts and images of Anubis in his jackal form are drawn all throughout the site in the same pose as of the body of the Sphinx, with no mention of a lion of any kind at the ancient city. Interestingly enough, this exact same pose was discovered in one of the only tombs of an Egyptian pharaoh ever discovered that had been completely undisturbed since his burial, the tomb of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. Within King Tut's tomb is a shrine to Anubis that demonstrates an exact scale of the Sphinx statue, but with the head of a jackal to represent Anubis, showing in overwhelming evidence that the original statue at the ancient city of Giza was supposed to be that of a jackal-headed Anubis and not that of a lion body with a human head. So where do we get the idea of a human head and a lion body? The truth is, the only reason why the statue is referred to as a sphinx is because of old Greek mythologies, such as those of Oedipus, that talk about a lion with the head of a man called a sphinx, but no such symbol exists in that of ancient Egypt. This means that the hieroglyphic texts that describe the Sphinx with a human head to represent the pharaoh of the 4th dynasty was nothing more than a forgery by the then pharaoh to take credit for a great statue of which he had not created or designed. In fact, a former pharaoh gives a great account about providing his royal dog a grand burial at the site of ancient Giza. In this text, his argument for why he had such a royal burial for what has been speculated to be his guard dog was due to his want and need to have the dog buried before the great god Anubis. Not only definitively proving that the Sphinx was originally that of the god Anubis in the jackal form, but also that the structure itself was created during the pre-dynastic times, long before any pharaoh could claim ownership of its creation. This could very well mean that not only was the creation of the Sphinx older than that of the dynastic reigns of Egypt, but that perhaps the structure is older than the Egyptian civilizations themselves. Further evidence of this theory can be found when analyzing the recent archaeological finds of strange bones discovered all throughout ancient Egypt. It is well known amongst Egyptologists that the ancient Egyptians treasured animals of all kinds, believing them to be the representation of their gods. It's due to this obsession that strange structures and bones from animals all around the world, even from areas previously believed to not have been operating open trade routes, have surfaced all across ancient Egyptian cities. Described as Egyptian zoos, strange hieroglyphics and designs have come forward showing evidence that not only were the early Egyptians capable of owning strange beasts from around the world, but that they possibly possessed an extinct species of woolly mammoth. Dubbed as the world's first zoo, a 6,000-year-old ancient Egyptian cemetery was uncovered filled with the remains of wild animals from all around the world that should have been unable to collect from the reaches of early man for thousands of years to come. Skeletons of ostriches, crocodiles, leopards, and other exotic animals were found alongside pools of water, large fenced-in cages, and a potential animal hospital filled with removed molars, teeth, claws, and evidence of animal surgeries. Though the importance of animals regarding the Egyptian religion was widely known, the evidence of the global reach of the species available to them, including species long believed to be extinct, has been a mystery that even the most elite of archaeologists and Egyptologists have failed to explain. This is odd, mostly due to the fact that it is widely believed by historians and archaeologists all around the world that the oldest civilization to exist was merely 10,000 years old. However, evidence in the fossil record shows that the modern-day intelligent human has been around for more than 50,000 years. So why is it then that the oldest cities don't start appearing until the past 10,000 years? It might have to do with the evidence of the extinct animals recorded in Egypt. The woolly mammoth was one of many distinct megafauna that went extinct at around the same time in the fossil record, merely 10,000 years ago. These extinct species included the mastodon, short-faced bear, the giant ground sloth, and many others. In fact, when Charles Darwin first visited the areas near the Galapagos Island, when he originally discovered the ground sloth bones, they were so fresh that he believed them to be a still living species of megafauna. So why was it then that around 10,000 years ago all of these species went extinct? Partly due to three strange reasons: large fires, a massive flood, and a sudden ice age. The evidence for these three events are widely known by archaeologists and research scientists, with them saying that the fossil record shows that all around the Earth appeared to be massive fires that were followed by a rapid cooling event. Many experts had originally speculated that perhaps a massive meteorite strike could have caused such a phenomenon, but no large craters supporting the theory had yet been discovered at the time of the original publications. However, this year, a massive crater underneath an ice sheet in Greenland shows a tremendous impact point where a meteor could have hit, generating more than 700 megatons of force. Any human civilization at the time, regardless of how advanced, would have been completely wiped off the face of the Earth in such a massive meteor strike. All of this happening at not only around the same time as a massive extinction event, but also around the same time the oldest civilizations would have been constructed. Could this be evidence then that perhaps the pyramids and the Sphinx, as well as many other advancements made in megalithic structures and creations, could actually more accurately come from the efforts of human beings from before this catastrophic event, and the Egyptians were merely the surviving peoples to pick up where humanity left off? Given the incredible advancements we have made in the past 10,000 years, this could very well mean that the humans before the event could have been significantly more advanced than we are today, and the old stories of gods and kings could have been the technological advancements before humanity had to reset due to such a catastrophic tragedy. Definitely one of the most puzzling mysteries on the planet is that of the Great Pyramids of Giza. The sheer size, precision, and manpower required to build such a colossal structure is nearly impossible even in the modern era, which makes it all the more mysterious that an ancient culture, such as one of the first civilizations ever to arise, had the engineering capacity and means to create the massive pyramids of Giza. For a reference to the size of the pyramids, each block of the colossal structure weighs roughly 2.5 metric tons, with over 2.3 million blocks making up the entirety of the structure. Not only did this require 315 blocks to be moved in place each day for the next 20 years, but to accomplish such a building scale of delivering the large stones and moving them into place even today would be an almost impossible feat, unable to be matched. If a stone wall was made to be 2 feet high and 4 inches wide, using the blocks of the pyramid at Giza, the wall would wrap around the circumference of the entire world. Not only this, but the blocks were made with such perfect precision that each block appears to be an exact clone in size to the rest of the blocks of the pyramid. Meaning the cut of each stone was so perfect, it would be impossible to slide something as thin as a piece of paper between any two stones. The only way to accomplish such a precision cut in the modern era would be to rely on laser guiding and cutting. As new discoveries and mapping of the pyramids continued, even more mysterious findings were made. Archaeologists and Egyptologists found high trace amounts of chemical compounds throughout the shafts of the pyramids that have the ability to have generated a massive amount of hydrogen by utilizing commonly found base chemicals in the region, leading some researchers to believe that the pyramids themselves could have once been powerful hydrogen generators capable of supplying electricity and energy similar to modern-day power plants. Considering no other explanations for the trace chemicals have been put forward with any success, it appears to be the only standing theory relative to explaining any purpose the pyramids had, considering not a single body or artifact had been found inside the structures, including chambers never previously opened inside the colossal structures. Whatever theory you subscribe to, the nature of the pyramids are not just a mystery of Egypt, but a mystery of the history of humanity. Illegal digging, also known as looting or tomb raiding, has been a persistent problem in Egypt for many years. The country's rich archaeological heritage and the lure of valuable artifacts have made it a prime target for looters. According to a 2018 report by the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, there were more than 30 cases of illegal digging or attempted illegal digging reported in the country that year alone. However, it is believed that many more cases go unreported. Illegal digging can have a devastating impact on Egypt's cultural heritage. It can lead to the destruction of archaeological sites and the loss of important artifacts that can never be recovered. It also fuels a black market for antiquities, where stolen artifacts are sold for large sums of money. The Egyptian government has taken steps to combat illegal digging, including increasing penalties for those caught and stepping up patrols of archaeological sites. However, the problem persists, and more needs to be done to protect Egypt's cultural heritage from looters. Just recently, a video of a digger was uploaded to social media, where the user said that they found something interesting. The object in question appears to be gold, and has on the back of it hieroglyphics, while on the front is what appears to be an unknown female Egyptian. The carving is strange as it always appears to be staring at you. However, the phenomenon of the eyes appearing to follow you is actually an optical illusion called the Mona Lisa effect. It is named after Leonardo da Vinci's famous painting, the Mona Lisa, which appears to follow viewers no matter where they stand. The effect occurs because of the way our eyes perceive objects in the visual field. When we look at a painting or a portrait, our brains perceive it as a three-dimensional object, even though it is actually flat. This means that our brains try to adjust our perspective based on the position of the painting, causing the eyes to appear to follow us. Oddly enough, though, it's reported that the digger who found this artifact also found various other ancient relics, saying that gold bars along with small golden statues were also found. The digger went on to detail that these objects were found inside an old abandoned tunnel, but didn't give away any details as to where this tunnel was located. Ancient Egypt was one of the most important and influential civilizations in human history. The discoveries and artifacts left behind by the ancient Egyptians provide valuable insights into their culture, religion, social structure, art, and technology. There are various reasons why people illegally dig in Egypt, but most of them are driven by the desire to find valuable antiquities that can be sold on the black market. These antiquities are often stolen from archaeological sites or tombs and sold to collectors or dealers who are willing to pay large sums of money for them. Another reason is the lack of economic opportunities in certain areas of Egypt, particularly in rural areas where poverty is widespread. In such areas, people may turn to illegal digging as a way to make money, since the sale of antiquities can be a lucrative business. In some cases, political instability and conflict can also contribute to illegal digging. During times of unrest, security forces may be preoccupied with other issues, allowing looters to operate with relative impunity. Unfortunately, illegal digging in Egypt has a significant impact on the country's cultural heritage. When antiquities are stolen and sold on the black market, they are often lost forever, with little hope of ever being recovered or returned to their rightful place in history. Additionally, illegal digging can cause damage to archaeological sites and tombs, further eroding Egypt's rich cultural legacy. Interestingly, gold was highly valued in ancient Egypt and was used for a variety of purposes, such as jewelry, religious objects, and as a symbol of power and wealth. The ancient Egyptians obtained gold from various sources, including mines in Nubia and the Eastern Desert. Some of the gold was used to make elaborate burial masks, jewelry, and other funerary objects for the pharaohs and other elite members of society. The tombs of some pharaohs, such as King Tut, were filled with gold objects, including the famous solid gold funerary mask. It's believed that much of the gold from ancient Egypt was eventually melted down and reused for other purposes over time. Some of it may have been lost or stolen during the many invasions and conflicts that occurred throughout Egyptian history. However, there are still many ancient Egyptian artifacts made of gold that have survived to this day and continue to fascinate people around the world. The ancient Egyptians were most successful during the period known as the New Kingdom, which lasted from approximately 1550 BCE to 1069 BCE. This era saw a period of great expansion and prosperity for Egypt, with powerful pharaohs who were able to establish Egypt as a major military and economic power in the region. During the New Kingdom, Egypt experienced a renaissance in art, architecture, and culture. The pharaohs of this era built magnificent temples and palaces, and many of the most famous monuments of Egypt, such as the temple complex at Karnak and the Valley of the Kings, were constructed during this time. The New Kingdom also saw the rise of the powerful pharaohs, such as Ahmose I, Hatshepsut, Thutmose III, Amenhotep III, and Ramses II, who were able to conquer neighboring territories, establish trade networks, and build an empire. One of the most significant events of the New Kingdom was the reign of Akhenaten, who attempted to establish a new monotheistic religion centered around the worship of the sun god, Aten. While his religious reforms were ultimately unsuccessful, they represented a major departure from traditional Egyptian beliefs and had a profound impact on Egyptian culture. The New Kingdom came to an end in the late 11th century BCE due to a combination of factors, including economic instability, internal unrest, and invasions by foreign powers. However, its legacy continued to influence Egyptian culture and society for centuries to come, and many of its achievements continue to fascinate and inspire people around the world. Amidst the silence of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, where abandoned buildings stand as solemn witnesses to a disaster of ages past, a man named Victor embarked on a journey that would defy reason and unravel the mysteries of the radioactive wilderness. Victor had dedicated his life to documenting the aftermath of the Chernobyl disaster, capturing the eerie beauty and desolate landscapes through his camera lens. With each click of the shutter, he felt a deep connection to the history and tragedy that unfolded here. One fateful morning, Victor's footsteps led him to a forgotten corner of the exclusion zone. As he ventured deeper into the heart of the zone, Victor's Geiger counter crackled with unsettling intensity, a constant reminder of the invisible danger that surrounded him. Yet, an inexplicable force seemed to guide his steps, drawing him toward an area where the radiation levels were unexpectedly lower. In the midst of the stark landscape, he caught sight of a creature unlike any he had ever encountered. It was a four-legged being. The creature's fur appeared matted, and its eyes, deep and entrancing, locked onto Victor's, as if peering into the very depths of his soul. Victor's heart raced as he photographed the enigmatic creature, his cautious steps marked by a mixture of awe and trepidation. He described the creature as being unlike anything he had ever seen before. It had 4 legs, like a dog, but its body was elongated and sleek. Victor was unsure of what this creature was, thinking that it may have been a local wolf that had been affected by something in the area. After only a few minutes, the creature pulled away and ran into the forest. Victor said that he hasn't seen the creature since, but is convinced that it was most likely a native species that had something wrong with it. The Chernobyl disaster of 1986, a catastrophic nuclear accident that released massive amounts of radioactive particles into the atmosphere, transformed the Chernobyl exclusion zone into an unlikely sanctuary for wildlife. This unique setting, once considered a symbol of destruction, has turned into a living laboratory, revealing nature's astonishing ability to adapt and thrive, even in the face of extreme adversity. In the aftermath of the Chernobyl disaster, the human evacuation from the surrounding areas inadvertently created a sanctuary for wildlife. The exclusion of human activity, typically a dominant factor shaping ecosystems, allowed animals to establish new territories and modify their behavior without the pressures of human interference. This sudden absence of human activity provided a glimpse into the potential consequences of reduced human presence in the natural world. One of the most intriguing aspects of wildlife in Chernobyl is the way species have adapted to the presence of radiation. While high levels of radiation can be detrimental to organisms, some animals have developed strategies to mitigate its effects. For instance, studies have shown that birds in the exclusion zone exhibit higher levels of antioxidants in their bodies, which helps counteract the harmful effects of radiation-induced oxidative stress. Additionally, some insects have developed thicker exoskeletons that provide better protection against radiation. However, the presence of radiation has also led to genetic mutations in some species. While many mutations are deleterious, some have proven advantageous in the exclusion zone's unique conditions. For example, certain plant species have developed heightened levels of pigments that offer protection against radiation-induced DNA damage. This adaptation has allowed these plants to thrive in areas where their counterparts outside the exclusion zone might struggle. The absence of human activity has allowed populations of various animals to grow unchecked. Large mammals, such as boars, deer, and wolves, have seen significant increases in population density within the exclusion zone. This phenomenon, known as the ecological release, occurs when a predator's main threats, typically hunting and habitat destruction, are eliminated. However, the balance of these populations can be delicate, as unchecked growth could lead to overpopulation, resource depletion, and heightened competition. The abandoned towns and villages within the exclusion zone have become eerily inhabited by a variety of wildlife. The phenomenon is known as urbanization of wildlife and has seen animals like raccoons, foxes, and even domesticated dogs adapting to urban environments. This process highlights the remarkable flexibility of certain species as they navigate and exploit new niches created by the presence of abandoned human infrastructure. The thriving wildlife in the Chernobyl exclusion zone raises ethical questions about studying and interacting with these ecosystems. While it provides an invaluable opportunity to study the long-term effects of radiation on wildlife, researchers must grapple with the moral dilemma of intervening in a fragile ecosystem that has naturally recovered in the absence of human influence. Any research activities or interventions must be carefully considered to ensure that they do not disrupt the delicate balance that has developed over the years. The survival and adaptation of wildlife in the Chernobyl exclusion zone offer valuable insights into conservation efforts and the resilience of ecosystems. While it would be unwise to romanticize the disaster's effects, it does underscore the capacity of nature to recover when given the chance. Moreover, it underscores the complex interplay between various ecological factors, adaptation, and the importance of minimizing human impact on natural systems. The story of wildlife in the Chernobyl exclusion zone is a testament to nature's resilience and adaptability. Despite the immense challenges posed by radiation and the absence of human presence, various species have found ways to survive, adapt, and even flourish. The exclusion zone has turned into a living laboratory, providing researchers with unique insights into ecological dynamics and the potential for recovery in even the harshest environments. As we continue to grapple with the impacts of human activity on the natural world, the lessons learned from Chernobyl serve as a reminder of both the fragility and resilience of the ecosystems we share this planet with. The primary hurdle to human survival in the Chernobyl exclusion zone is the pervasive radiation that permeates the environment. The radioactive isotopes released during the disaster, such as cesium and strontium, have long half-lives and can pose serious health risks to humans exposed over prolonged periods. Acute radiation sickness and genetic mutations are among the potential consequences. While some areas within the zone have lower radiation levels due to natural decay and containment efforts, the risks of radiation exposure remain. Protective measures, such as wearing specialized clothing and using advanced monitoring equipment, are essential for anyone entering the area. Advancements in technology have enabled humans to venture into the exclusion zone for short periods while minimizing radiation exposure. Workers involved in containment and cleanup efforts, for instance, wear specialized suits with integrated cooling systems and respirators to prevent inhalation of radioactive particles. These technologies, coupled with radiation monitoring devices and decontamination protocols, allow humans to carry out essential tasks while mitigating the risk of radiation-related health issues. The construction of the new safe confinement, an immense steel arch that encases the damaged reactor, has significantly reduced the release of radioactive materials and provides a safer environment for maintenance and decommissioning activities. Technological innovations continue to play a pivotal role in enabling limited human presence within the exclusion zone. While short-term visits for specific purposes are feasible due to advanced protective measures, long-term human survival within the Chernobyl exclusion zone presents formidable challenges. The risk of chronic radiation exposure and associated health complications, including increased cancer rates and compromised immune systems, raises ethical questions about the feasibility and sustainability of establishing a permanent human presence. The potential effects on reproductive health and genetic integrity also add complexity to the idea of long-term survival. Research indicates that radiation exposure can increase the risk of genetic mutations, potentially affecting future generations. These considerations emphasize the need for a comprehensive understanding of the potential consequences of extended habitation. The human capacity for adaptation and resilience is a driving force that cannot be overlooked. Throughout history, humans have demonstrated an ability to adapt to challenging environments, leveraging their ingenuity to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. The Chernobyl disaster itself serves as a testament to the resilience of affected communities who faced displacement and loss yet continue to rebuild their lives. If a long-term human presence were to be considered within the exclusion zone, it would likely involve a careful combination of protective measures, technological interventions, and thorough risk assessments. This would require interdisciplinary collaboration among scientists, engineers, medical experts, and social scientists to develop strategies that balance the potential benefits with the health risks. The Chernobyl exclusion zone, a 1,000 square mile area encompassing the Chernobyl nuclear power plant and its surroundings, has witnessed a remarkable resurgence of wildlife and flora in the absence of human activity. This unexpected ecological recovery underscores the capacity of nature to adapt and reclaim even the most hazardous landscapes. As mentioned, populations of species such as wolves, boars, and deer have flourished, creating a unique ecosystem often referred to as a radioactive wilderness. However, the environmental impacts of radiation persist. The radioactive isotopes released during the explosion have long half-lives, ensuring their presence in the environment for generations. These isotopes can be taken up by plants, animals, and even humans, resulting in an ongoing cycle of exposure. While some species exhibit adaptation to the radiation, others suffer from genetic mutations and compromised reproductive success. Chernobyl remains an unprecedented opportunity for scientists to study the long-term effects of radiation on ecosystems and human health. Research conducted within the exclusion zone provides insights into the genetic, physiological, and ecological responses of organisms to chronic radiation exposure. These studies help broaden our understanding of radiation's impact on DNA, cellular repair mechanisms, and the broader ecosystem dynamics. One significant area of research involves the use of Chernobyl's unique conditions to better comprehend the potential effects of radiation on humans and other species. This research informs radiation protection standards and helps refine models for predicting the consequences of nuclear accidents. The lessons learned from Chernobyl are crucial for informing future decisions regarding nuclear energy and disaster preparedness. The area surrounding Chernobyl was once home to thriving communities. Today, these towns and villages remain abandoned, frozen in time, with decaying buildings and remnants of human life. The socio-economic impact on the affected population was profound, leading to displacement, loss of livelihoods, and displacement of families and communities. Efforts to manage the exclusion zone's legacy include measures to ensure the safety of workers engaged in containment and cleanup activities. The construction of the new safe confinement, a massive steel arch, was completed in 2016 to encase the damaged reactor and prevent further release of radioactive material. This engineering marvel not only minimizes environmental contamination, but also provides a platform for future decommissioning efforts.
La Palma eruption could trigger mega tsunami that hits the US. While the images volcanoes produce can at times be beautiful, no one should underestimate the amount of power these formations have. A volcano eruption in the Spanish Canary island of La Palma triggered fears that a mega tsunami could hit the east coast of the United States. The eruption at the Cumbre Vieja volcanic ridge, which occurred in September of 2021, forced the evacuation of about 5,000 people from their homes around the area. It has been a while since the Spanish people have seen action from the volcano, as the last eruption occurred in 1971. Low-magnitude earthquakes are believed to have triggered the eruption that ignited fear of the possibility of a mega tsunami affecting the US. The fear likely stemmed from a 2001 scientific study published in the journal Geophysical Research Letters that found a link between the eruption of Cumbre Vieja and a mega tsunami that could strike the US. The authors believed that further eruption of the volcano could compromise the entire structure through their investigations of the volcanic eruptions in 1971 and 1949. The authors thought that what they termed the catastrophic failure of its west flank could drop between 150 to 500 kilometers squared of rock into the sea that would cause tsunami waves that would cross the entire Atlantic Ocean. They believed that these tsunami waves could reach the east coast with a height of 33 to 82 feet. Despite their findings, subsequent studies have diminished the threat of a possible tsunami on the east coast due to the volcanic eruption. It has been argued that any collapse of the ridge triggering the force hypothesized in the study is extremely unlikely because flank collapses would happen in stages. What is known, however, is that a collapse would have devastating effects on the people of La Palma. Janine Krippner, a volcanologist at the Global Volcanism Program, reflected, "This scenario has been discredited by researchers, but it is rampant right now. Experts are lost in the noise, and people cannot access or trust the facts. We look at extreme scenarios in science to understand the entire spectrum of events, out to what may not be possible. Communicating that is so difficult."
A 1,720-foot tsunami. Tsunamis are a type of natural disaster that have wreaked havoc and brought devastation to many people's lives. They are high waves from the sea that are typically a consequence of disturbances such as earthquakes. There are some on record of impressive heights, but none more so than in Lituya Bay in 1958. Lituya Bay, found in Alaska, saw the tallest tsunami that we have ever managed to get on record, as it reached a staggering 1,720 feet, earning itself the title of mega tsunami. Unfortunately, there were several casualties in this event, with 5 people losing their lives and many injured and homeless. The wave easily cleared trees and soil, leaving behind bedrock in its place. This tsunami followed an earthquake in the area with a magnitude of 7.8. The earthquake itself had led to significant rockfall, and now there is an ongoing debate that is somewhat prevalent. Was the tsunami a result of the earthquake directly, or of the rockfall which caused a significant disturbance upon impact? Unlike tsunamis, mega tsunamis are not believed to occur through the movement of underwater tectonic activity, but rather by the impact of large materials falling suddenly into or near the water. Here, it's clear why the lines are blurred, thanks to the inconclusive nature of the tsunami's origin. This is not the first time that Lituya Bay has experienced heartbreak at the hands of a tsunami. Over a span of just a century and a half, it's thought that 4 or 5 mega tsunamis hit the area. Natural disasters of any volume are devastating, though one of this size, magnitude, and sheer immensity brought huge losses to Alaska, with some suggesting that this was the event that pushed the category of mega tsunami into existence.
Severe droughts have revealed the Spanish Stonehenge. In the wake of the horrendous heatwave that befell Europe this summer, a striking discovery was made. This year's drought has been the worst drought in half a millennium, but at the very least, the suffering has rendered fruitful archaeological findings. Due to the lowered water levels in Spain's countryside, the dolmen of Guadalparal, or otherwise known as the Spanish Stonehenge, has been uncovered. The dolmen of Guadalparal is a prehistoric circular structure composed of almost 100 megalithic stones, which archaeologists and scientists estimate to be at least 8,000 years old. Dolmen were ancient stone structures thought to have been primarily used as tombs. Angel Castano, the president of a Spanish cultural organization, stated, "All my life, people had told me about the dolmen. I had seen parts of it peeking out from the water before, but this is the first time I've seen it in full. It's spectacular because you can appreciate the entire complex for the first time in decades." The 6-foot-tall megaliths were first found by the German archaeologist Hugo Obermeier in 1926.
As such, people have known about the dolmen since the 1920s, but rarely have people had the chance to see them fully and up close due to the waters that usually submerge them. The construction of the Volcanic reservoir led by Francisco Franco in 1963 permanently drowned the structure underwater. The top of the dolmen of Guadalparal can be seen when the reservoir is at a low capacity, but this summer has revealed more of it than the public has seen in decades. When, who, or what made the dolmen of Guadalparal is an enigma, much like the British Stonehenge. A theory suggests that the dolmen of Guadalparal was made to calculate the summer solstice. Another implies that it served as a temple, and another idea claims it might have been a physical map of the nearby river Tagus. Raíces de Paraleda created a Change.org petition in hopes of obtaining enough signatures to persuade the Spanish government to remove the circle from the reservoir and onto dry land, or preferably into a museum. So far, their petition has over 45,000 signatures. It's a dire situation as history crumbles in front of our very eyes. The stone megaliths have already begun to crumble into nothingness due to their years underwater, and if nothing is done soon, they will disappear forever. In Castaños' own words, if we don't act now, it could be too late.
Drones can be extremely useful tools in search and rescue operations. Drones can cover large areas quickly and efficiently, making it easier to search for missing persons. They can be equipped with cameras and thermal imaging sensors to detect people who might be difficult to spot from the ground. Drones can carry supplies such as food, water, and medicine to people in need, especially in areas that are difficult to access, and they can provide live video footage to rescue teams, helping them to better understand the situation and plan their operations. Just recently, it was reported that a 52-year-old hiker was trapped on Kowloon Peak. Luckily for the 52-year-old, a veteran hiker was in the area with his drone and contacted the fire department saying that he could help assist the investigation. A group of firemen were in the area when they received the call, so quickly made their way to the scene. The drone user found the trapped man around 450 feet up the hill, and the firefighters said that with the help of the drone, they were able to assist the civil aid service. Mr. Mann, who was the owner of the drone, said that he's been hiking since he was young and is well aware of the hidden dangers. He continued by saying that he started drone filming around 4 years ago, and since then has set up a group to help people to find their lost drones on the hill. Law enforcement have said that if it wasn't for Mr. Mann assisting them, then it's very likely the operation wouldn't have run as smoothly as it did. The hiker was saved from the hill, with officers saying that it's proof that drones are an effective way of helping find someone in the wilderness.
Microbial jungle discovered under Antarctica's largest ice shelf.
We have already seen that Antarctica is a desert, though this climate continues to defy our expectations as we find a new possible climate, a jungle. In the spring of 2022, a community of microbial life has been uncovered underneath the layers of ice. Despite the harsh environment, these life forms appear to be flourishing. They are seemingly well adapted to a life of no light and a lack of organic material, not like the rich supply of the ocean. This so-called jungle of microbes has an intricate ecosystem, with the food web relying on inorganic nitrogen and sulfur compounds to form chemical energy. This unique energy source is then put into action, with the carbon dioxide being converted into organic molecules that can be used as fuel. Despite the excitement of life being found beneath the ice in Antarctica, this is not the first time microscopic life beneath the ice has been suggested. It was in the 19th century, during a voyage led by James Clark Ross himself, the namesake for the Ross Ice Shelf, that the thought of tiny living organisms thriving within this space was first suggested. Typically, in ocean life, the underwater ecosystems are propelled by photosynthetic organisms, meaning living things that turn the sunlight into their fuel source. It is then deep into the ocean, where the sunlight does not quite stretch to, that these organic particles sink and can provide fuel to the next portion of marine life. This same understanding cannot apply to the ice shelf, however, as there is no way for the sunlight to reach, and there is no place for these hypothetical organic minerals to go. Despite this, back in 1977,
When this space was first researched, microbes, amphipods, and fish were found. Though a great discovery was made, we lacked the ability to delve deeper. Of course, technology has advanced since the 70s, and so our analytical approach is more than well equipped to handle the questions of the day, and so the research has been conducted again, taking a closer look at exactly how the food webs and microbes function in such an impossible environment. Lawsuit against the late Forest Fenn's estate reveals that his $1 million treasure chest was buried in Yellowstone National Park. After a decade of rumours and mystery, the truth is finally coming out. Forest Fenn's $1 million treasure chest has spurred a flurry of people to search for the hidden treasure, even resulting in 5 people losing their lives. The chest, which belonged to author and art dealer Forest Fenn, was hidden in 2012 and was found almost a decade later by treasure hunter Jack Stoof, just months before Fenn's lost his life. Stoof had been looking for the treasure for 2 years. Both Fenn and Stoof swore themselves to secrecy about the location where it was found. However, they reportedly told Yellowstone National Park Chief Ranger Sarah Davis the exact location of where the treasure chest was found. According to Davis and other park officials, they wanted to prevent the location from getting out, as it could cause an influx of tourists to an area not equipped for so many people and could damage the fragile ecosystem. Another reason for the disclosure may have been a legal maneuver on the part of Fenn in order to allow the finder of the treasure, Stoof, to claim it as his own, rather than allowing it to be claimed by the park. Due to a legal case brought by another treasure hunter, Jamie McCracken, the location is likely to be revealed. According to McCracken, Fenn kept moving the chest each time he got close to finding it. The treasure chest saga first began as an idea by Fenn in 1988, after he received a cancer diagnosis that he believed was terminal. Then, in 2012, when he published a poem in his autobiography that hinted at hidden treasure of gold in the Rocky Mountains, many were eager to find the treasure. When Stoof first found the treasure, he sent Fenn a letter telling him that the fate of the chest was in his hands. I'm aware that over the years you have intimated that you may like to give these items to the people who found it. If that is the case with me, I would be happy to receive them, but I think it would be prudent that I first return your treasure to you so you can fully verify that it belongs to you. It now seems that the truth of the location is out of both of their hands and soon to be in the hands of the public.